Okay, quite often during our semester, I'm going to have you save documents, save papers, essays, rough drafts in Word, in Microsoft Word, and then I'll actually have you send them to me in a number of different ways. But one of the ways I like to have them sent to me quite often is via email. It gives me a lot more flexibility as far as being able to provide you with detailed instruction and feedback. And so even though we use Blackboard as an interface for a lot of that feedback, sometimes I need to go a lot more into your papers more thoroughly, and so I like doing it this way. So what I do is I open your papers up in Word, and I use a feature called Track Changes. And it allows me to mark things up, suggest changes, delete things, tell you places where I'd add this or that. And it's a really nice way for me to give you really detailed feedback that's going to help you improve your writing. So I've got a student paper here that was sent to me. This is a few semesters ago. And they were writing on their favorite TV show, which is a show called Vikings. And this student was talking about why he likes that show so much. And so this was one of his early drafts. And so I'm reading it, and I'm going to make some changes. I say, what kind of television show draws you in? Is it one with plot full of twists and turns, or is it one with characters that you draw a connection and tug on your emotions? Okay, that's perfectly fine. There's just a few little, grammar things or words left out there. What kind of television show draws you in? Is it one with a strong plot full of twists and turns, or is it one with characters that you draw a connection to and that tug on your emotions? If you're looking for something that fulfills that guilty television pleasure, look no further than the show Vikings. The main character and the show's basis of who it's based on. Okay, that's crazy. The main character let's get rid of that. Ragnar Lothbrok will immediately draw you in. Then it goes on, tells you a few other things, and after reading all this, I'm like, okay, this is good, but you should develop a pointed thesis here that spells out the specific reasons you like the show. I've got a few spelling errors there, but anyway, so I can make little comments. Anything I'm adding is going to be in one color and underlined. In this case, it's green. Sometimes it'll be set to red. It doesn't matter. But the underlined stuff is what I'm adding. Sometimes it's a word that I think, oh yeah, you should just leave that word in. And other times it'll just be a suggestion that I'm putting into the draft so that you can read it and then go from there and develop it however you need to. And things that you shouldn't, I'm saying you should probably get rid of this, are going to be crossed out like that. So this is what this looks like as I'm putting it in here, and I'm going to go ahead now and show you a paper that's already marked up completely, this same paper already marked up completely, and you can see what the student has to do with it once they receive it all marked up. How do they clean it up? How do they get rid of this blue and green stuff and either address the changes or accept or reject the changes and suggestions so that their paper will be all cleaned up when they turn it in final form. So let's switch over to that. Okay, so here we are with one that's all marked up, and you can see there's lots of red or sorry, blue and green things all throughout. I've cleaned up some stuff, done a little editing, but then I've also mainly gone through and provided suggestions of things I would change or places where I would add things. This whole section is far too vague to prove your point. I need to prove episode-specific, provide episode-specific examples that illustrate each claim you make about the character. Reminding him to conclude the section when he gets to the end of it. Just all sorts of commentary throughout to give the student a little bit more direction. So once he gets this back and wants to start finalizing it and addressing the suggestions, this is what you do. You go through, and let's say we want to go ahead and say, okay, we want to add that word because clearly that makes a sentence make more sense. I put my cursor on it and I press with my right mouse button and I say accept insertion, and then it gets rid of the green and the underline and it looks just like the rest of the text. And so these kinds of things I would go ahead and accept those throughout. Accept deletion. all of these I might accept, because these are just, again, these are just sentence, grammar, clarity sorts of things. So here we go, though. We don't want to accept this because this is, you got to read what I'm writing here. It says, ever-changing brother Rolo will play with your emotions just as much as the next one. And I say, one what? So I'm just saying this is not specific enough. So you would probably not want that in your paper. So you'd say reject that. And you would also reject that. And then we can change it because we know that was kind of a problem. So we say as much as the next character. Maybe that's more specific. You know, he knows what he's talking about, and the student would figure this out. So we get rid of this one as well. Accept that. We go on and we say, I'd much rather you did a thesis as a single pointed one. So he would probably reject that and then go ahead and develop an actual pointed thesis there that says something like, the main things I love about Vikings are the main character's personality, plot twists, and the historical detail. I'm just making those up because I can't remember what he said in the paper. But anyway, he would know. The student would know. You would know if it were your paper. And now we have a nice pointed thesis that spells out, in this case, 3 nice specific points. And then, of course, we go on and deal with those throughout the paper. So now you know how, once you get one of these papers back from me with all of these suggestions and comments, you know how to get rid of them. You know how to accept them. Just poke on it, you know, put your cursor on it, click that right mouse button, and then you can accept or you can reject to make that underlined or colored language disappear. Very simple and very useful for you.